All right, I wanted to do this one because the trans activist, if we're calling her that, on this one is actually quite sensible. I remember watching another thing with her and everything she said was pretty much fine. Like, I agreed with her. And I'm not here to shit on trans activists. I'm here to watch them and see what the fuck's going on with this shit. But, you know, yeah, anyway, so this is, do you feel ashamed? Julia Hartley-Brewer clashes with LGBTQ campaigner. And for those not aware, Julia Hartley-Brewer is fairly right-wing UK journalist, I think. Yeah, let's see.
Well, look, joining me right now to discuss this as well is Zoe Chowney, who's campaigner.
Zoe Chowney, that was her name. Yeah, she seemed reasonable in the other thing I watched. Like, I'm not gonna shit on someone if they seem reasonable. Like, that's not what I'm here to do, you know?
I'm told the LGBT plus community. I don't think there is a LGBT plus community, but Zoe, thank you very much for joining us. Do you feel ashamed that people like Graham Linehan and people like J.K. Rowling have been called bigots when they've simply said the same thing that the Cass Review?
I mean, J.K. Rowling maybe. Graham Linehan is a terrible example. Like, he is like deranged. I don't know why he's been kind of lifted up. And even then, loads of like gender criticals still have issues with him all the time. I don't know.
He says in black and white.
You know what? Firstly, I'm not actually a campaigner for the community.
That's what
I'm not actually a campaigner for the community. Campaigner for the LGBT plus community. In the title, clashes with LGBTQ campaigner. Like, did they just do this to be annoying? I can't tell.
Bill does to me. Apologies for that.
I'm a founder and a CEO of a fintech company, but I also do some speaking on this subject. What I hate is all this polarization, this extremists on both sides. I think there are extreme views.
Again, so far, I agree with everything.
The transgender side, which I think don't do anybody any good.
True, based, yes.
And the extreme views on the other side? I haven't heard any extreme views on the other side.
Extreme views on the other side would be saying that people like me don't exist.
No, but people don't say that. No. When people say, there's
yeah, they mean like trans doesn't exist in their minds because there's only sex. It is, in a way, it's going to be more difficult to prove how crazy like some of the gender critical side of things are. I think for me, I guess a lot of it's more about rhetoric, and a lot of it's about just how hateful a lot of these people are, where they'll just find pictures of like random trans people and just like shit on them, which I don't see the point of. Like, I could take either of these people if I found their looks funny in some way, and I could bash them on fucking Twitter. You know, you can do that to anyone, and it doesn't take any like skill or thought or ability in any way, you know.
Dehumanization and eradication of trans people. No, simply saying that no one's born in the wrong body. Of course you exist, but I mean, you identify as a woman, but...
I mean, I like that she's made this like clarification, because I hear the debating our existence and stuff like that constantly, and that's really not what they're saying. And it would be so much easier if we could just speak from the same fucking page, even if we disagree, at least actually disagree on like what's actually happening, you know?
People say, you're a biological man, you're a man, and you can live how you want, dress how you want, live how you live your best life, wonderful. But it doesn't mean that we believe you're actually a woman. That doesn't mean you don't exist. That's not an extremist view. That's just biological fact.
And Julia, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that at all.
It wasn't extremist, was it?
You know,
Did she not really bring any examples? Oof. Yeah, I need to think about this more, because like, proving, like someone like J.K. Rowling, I'm not comfortable going around saying she's transphobic, because it's not easy to prove. It's kind of a death by a thousand cuts thing, and obviously a lot of these gender criticals, even the more extreme ones, follow her example, because, you know, ultimately that whole movement, that gender critical movement, if J.K. Rowling is the de facto leader, then they have someone who's like relatively intelligent and knows how to use words. Whereas on the trans side, we don't really have anyone like that, unfortunately. I'm sure there's people that might tell me, oh, this person or that person, but it's almost guaranteed I probably think they're terrible, to be honest. I've heard so many of these people that are supposed to be like great advocates and stuff, and some of them are just like absolute fucking dog shit or just attention seeking. You know, we've seen plenty of people like Felix Fern and like Frida Wallace and stuff who are clearly in it for the attention, who clearly don't have any real knowledge or ability in this kind of subject. So they just go on there and disrupt conversations and pull stupid stunts, you know, asking right-wing women what their pronouns are or talking about their penis in front of radfems, you know?
I'm naturally quite a skeptical person. This whole thing with trans kids, I would never think that was a thing. I would always think that, you know what, they're probably just confused or exploring, etc., etc. But it happened to me. I remember being very early childhood, being very distressed at the my sex, like being male, and
obviously with anyone's testimony, like you can never tell how much it's like inflated. But you know, that's kind of that's a whole problem with the trans thing is like we rely on testimony. It's like a lot of mental health things, really. The only ways you can show gender dysphoria are to talk about it and tell people your experience, which they're going to do whatever they want with. They might not even believe you, who knows. The only other way is just in the way you present yourself and the way you kind of go around. And, you know, I guess it shows some kind of commitment, which is why I find like the push towards like not caring about passing extremely weird, because, you know, what are you transitioning to then, you know?
I used to pray to a god every single night through my entire childhood that I'd wake up, you know, with a different body, etc., etc.
Does that mean you should have been given treatment? And did you get treatment early on or not? Do you think? But that's the. Do you think that children who are feeling unhappy and confused should get irreversible treatment like that?
No, I don't. What I think should have.
Yeah, I'm like against transitioning kids. There's too many problems with it at the moment. The problems with consent, the problems with, are they just going to grow out of this? Do they even have dysphoria? Are they just kind of copying their friends, or are they copying shit that they found on the internet because they think they're going to make friends that way, which you can make friends that way by aping these idiots online, but, you know, say one wrong thing and watch them drop like flies. So are they your friends? Who knows?
What I wanted, you know, I'm getting old now. I was born in the early 70s, and what I wanted, I couldn't talk about it. You couldn't talk about these kind of issues, you know, in those years. What I wanted was to be told that it's fine. Yeah. We can talk about it. Things be worked out in the fullness of time. You're not a complete weirdo. Well, you might be, but not for this particular reason. And
you might be a little bit different, but that's okay.
They're even having a bit of a rapport. I like this. I like this Zoe Chowney person. Like, you know, someone who's actually kind of decent at this. Like, who's actually quite likable and isn't acting like a fucking moron. Like, it's nice to see because it's rare.
People are different.
In the fullness of time, things can be worked out. With what frustrates me is the fact that
would, like, rather than say talking about like extremism on the GC side, would like absolutism be a more apt kind of term? As in like the kind of people who completely ban everything, like shut it all down, no one gets any of this stuff because it's bad, you know? I think maybe that's a better way of putting it, because it's just quite hard to prove, like, what, because someone finds a ridiculous looking person ridiculous, you know, stuff like that. So it's a tough one. But I wonder if that's a better angle, maybe.
You know, some trans people and some people that kind of seem to be quite against the trans community seem to be so far apart, and there's so much aggression between them. And I just think,
she's shaking her head. That's true. The division between like the TERFs and the trans people is like fucking oceanic.
It upsets me.
I don't accept that. I don't think there's been toxic debate on my side of the argument. No,
there definitely has. Maybe that's something I need to like put some shit together for, because I've been doing mostly arguing against trans people, but I need to talk about gender critical as well, because I have tons of like issues with that too, you know. I have some sympathies as well. So
one's against trans people. J.K. Rowling's accused of being a bigot. She's never said a single negative word about trans people. She talked about...
Is that true? Is that true?
Activists who target her and the threat to women's safety and safe places. I mean, the toxicity has been entirely on one side.
I don't agree with Julia Hartley-Brewer here. I do agree there's been a shit ton of toxicity from the trans side, and the sooner we realise that, and maybe just stop fucking doing it, the better. You know, I'm tired of watching, like, trans people at J.K. Rowling over and over and over and over and over and over. And then when she finally, like, responds or tags them in something, and her weird fans, like, start flocking to them, then suddenly they're these massive victims, and, like, oh, they're being hate crimed and, like, bullied and stuff. That Sophie Molly does it a hell of a lot. It's so infuriating. It's, like, literal, like, cry bully shit that anyone with any sense should be able to see through. Because it's not victim blaming. When someone invites criticism and then they get criticized, it's not victim blaming to, like, blame that person for getting criticized. It's not victim blaming to say, if someone has been harassing someone else for ages, and then the other person responds and their followers then harass that person, it's not victim blaming to say that that's their fault because they brought it on themselves. It's just how it is.
Do you know what? I think it's a bit like a bunch of school children, to be honest. I think there's, you know, I'm trying to think of examples, but I've read things that have made me feel comfortable from both sides of this argument. And it just...
Yeah, I wish she was more prepared. Like, I don't know, it can't be this hard to show that Gender Critical has some really, like, toxic elements to it, you know? Like, it's very obvious that the trans side does. Why can't we show a bit more of the other side, you know? I guess they're a bit smarter with the way they do things sometimes, but I don't know, you had Graham Linehan, he used to share pictures of, like, teenage fucking boys wearing makeup and, like, shit on them on Twitter, like, without anyone's permission. Like, that's some weird shit, you know?
It just seems like a bunch of school children in the playground. It's like, can't we just come together, talk rationally, like we're doing?
But hold on a minute. If one side is trying to stop children being rendered infertile...
So are plenty of trans people. I mean, this person hasn't said they want to render them fucking infertile, you know? I don't know.
And having their bodies mutilated, and when we know that they're not born in the wrong body, that I'm not sure there's a middle ground on that. I'm so sorry we have to leave it there. Zoe Chaney, I really appreciate you joining us. Thank you very much indeed.
There we go. Good representation.
What's this? Foster's Proper Shandy, the Amber Nectar.
Please shut up. There we go. Zoe Chowney, some good representation.